Hey, this is Keelin and today I'm going to talk about the movie Priest. Now, I liked it, but I also had some problems with it. It was a really great action movie, really great storyline. I actually really liked the idea of, since the beginning of time, there's always been man and there's always been vampires, and that's how they started out the whole thing. Here was my problem. He was the first human vampire. Our villain was the first human vampire. After how many centuries? Like, we're going into, they're supposed to be past even our years in the future. So, and he's the first human vampire. Nobody else, none of the other queens ever thought of doing this ever, like at all, like really. I understand there's always a first for everything, but usually it doesn't take over several millennium, because if there's always been vampires since the beginning of time, there's always been man since the beginning of time, you'd think there would have been a couple more times where the queens were like, hey, let's just change you. So I have a slight issue with that. Also, I realize they're supposed to be, I'm not sure if they're supposed to be superheroes, the priests. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be superheroes or just have special abilities or whatnot. It doesn't really explain. It just says that the priests were chosen because they were special. Okay, special. I never saw them use anything like magic-y, voodoo-y. The only thing I ever noticed is okay, she throws the stones up for him to step on and they freeze. The stones, they freeze in the midair. Okay, I'm not sure if that was a superpower or not. They didn't really her eyes didn't flash and glow. There was no mystical ball of magic. He just stepped on them and then jumped at the Guardian. So I had a little issue with understanding how were they considered special. His abilities as a priest didn't appear until he was older. His abilities as a priest. What made him have those abilities? What are those abilities to begin with? They never even went into that whole thing. And I guess it wasn't really necessary unless you were actually looking at it from he seems like an average Joe, except for every once in a while when he's fighting, time kind of slows down and he can throw ninja crosses into a crap ton of vampires all at once. So is it a speed thing, or is it I didn't quite understand that. Are they faster or stronger than regular humans? I'm not even sure. Smarter, maybe more intelligent. I did notice that between him and our lovely dorky sheriff, though he did say you would have made a really great priest during my favorite scene, which was, they're about to get attacked on the train by these tons and tons of vampires just jumping in through the door, and he shoots the first one to stop them at the door with his shotgun, and then he points his shotgun at the ceiling and just blasts 3 holes in the ceiling so that the sunlight is creating an entire barrier. And the priest is like, wow, he would have made a really great priest. Because he was ready to just kung fu it out. He was ready to do this against I don't know, there was maybe 40 of them jamming through the door. And the kid's like, I don't have time for this shit. Blast holes. It kind of reminds me of the teenager generations we always have in every generation. I really don't have time for this, so I'm just going to do it in a stupid, simple way that you as an adult cannot think of. I liked that. I'd like to read the comic book series because I'm betting it's even better. I loved the twists of him being the father. I enjoyed the comedy. I don't know why I found it hilarious when the female priest mentions that she's been having dreams. I started laughing because if you listen and you're paying attention, you'll notice she's actually telling him, I have wet dreams about you and I'd like to get with you, so let's do it because we might die. And he's like, no, because I've always been married. I was married before I became a priest. I'm one of the oldest people that was ever chosen to be a priest. And the disappointment in her face, it made me giggle. It was funny. I realized it was supposed to be something romantic and sad lovers romance of unrequited love. But to me, it was just a, like, I would never walk up to some random guy and be like, I've been having wet dreams about you. Would you sleep with me? This... maybe there are a few guys that would probably jump into bed, but I'm not so certain how many would actually be like, wow, wet dreams about me, huh? Okay, sure. No, I don't... It was the way she put it. There were so many other ways she could have asked, and just the way she put it and how serious her face was when she said it. She was just so serious. So, I've been having these dreams, and yeah, can we go ahead and... Oh, no, I just thought, and it was so evil of my soul to think that after she died, that maybe you would finally be free of her. It was ridiculous. Overall, it's a good movie. It's fun. It's a fun movie. Fun to watch. The fight scenes were great. There were a couple other things that were like really, really ridiculous, like when she's setting up the bomb by the railroad tracks and then she goes to fight all the little vampire thrall. I call them thrall because in other video games I've played, vampire thrall, they're people that are cursed with the vampire disease but aren't vampires. So, thrall. Anyways. They come up to attack her and stop her from blowing up this thing, and she fights right next to the thing. And then she's like, oh no, it broke! I'm sorry, but if you're about to have a wrestling match, you don't take your mother's china into the ring with you. She basically took the bomb that was supposed to be the thing that blew up the entire train, and she fought with it right next to her. She could have, she had plenty of time. I don't know if you watched it, but they were pretty far away when she started to like set up for, I'm gonna fight you all and kick all your guys' asses. She probably could have moved about 50 yards over just a little bit. I mean, maybe even if not 50 yards, she could have moved over enough that she wouldn't have had that situation even occur. Although I realize it's supposed to be a climax of, oh my god, now how are we going to blow up the train? It's heading straight for the city. All these people are going to be massacred. But still, sometimes you wonder about the logic of people's minds throughout the film, and I realize they're reading off of a script and they're following a script, but I know that if I was in the middle of doing something like that, I would have moved 25 yards over to fight, not actually stand next to the bomb. You can check out the movie on Netflix. I bought it on Blu-ray. I'm pretty certain it's still out on DVD, or you can rent it. I liked it. I realize I have a lot of criticisms on it, but I did like the film. It was fun to watch. It's still fun to watch. It's just not necessarily the best vampire film I've ever seen. I liked the way the vampires looked, though, and I liked the idea of the priests, and the storyline and the history were all really well done. That's all for now, and I'll see you next time.